Hello everyone. In this video I'm gonna explain ideas for Reti openings related to d5 e6 structure for black. Mainly c5 will be coming, but e6 d5 structures. First of all, why to choose Reti as your opening? By the way, what's the main difference between Reti and between English? Because knight f3 and your next move is almost c4. So what's the main difference between the English opening c4 and knight f3? If you go c4, then black has a golden chance to go e5 and sharing the control of the center, and probably the reverse Sicilian where black is kind of okay. And this is considered to be the main line. But we go knight f3 first, so we get rid of this e5 idea. And after knight f6 or e6 or d5, we go c4 in this position. e6 to be played, g3, and now, first of all, why e6 is played? Black is waiting for d4 because this is the main move and the most played move. But after d4, he might be prepared queen's Indian b6. He might be prepared Bogo Indian bishop b4 check. Might be preparing Binoni or some ideas like queen's gambit decline. So he kept the options open. So that's why we go g3. We don't go for theory. And this is the other reason to choose Reti as your opening. If you miss, if you forget, then you're fine. You can play a game of chess. You understand your middle game understanding, your end game understanding will help you. But if you are the e4 or an e4 player and you miss, then probably you might be losing or your opponent might take an advantage over you. The same goes maybe to the less extent for d4. So g3, d5. And now in this position, to get rid of ideas like dc4 in some moments, we go simply b3. b3, the idea is if he takes the pawn, so you take back and you're completely fine. After bishop e7, you go bishop g2. He castled, we castled as well. And now in this position, the main move, and probably is going to be played either now or later, which is c5. But to make this work kind of complete, I can't pretend that this is everything you need to know in this structure. No, but I'm going to provide you with ideas to help you knowing what to do. But d4 will change the structure of the position. What to do after d4? Simply you go e3, and now this doesn't make any sense. You could take with the pawn. Your bishop here is very strong. You could go queen e2, rook d1. This bishop is very strong along the other diagonal. So after e3, black wants to make his point right and went for c5 in order to play knight c6 next, supporting the d4 pawn, hoping for e5 to be coming. But now the interesting idea, knight e5. What's the point of knight e5? Mainly to stop knight c6 and control the e5 square or stop the e5 push. So this bishop is still suffering. Queen c7 attacking the knight. I'm not interested. I could just protect it with f4. Knight bd7, and now very interesting maneuver, knight d3. Yes, you managed to go e5, but your bishop now is kind of blocked. We go knight a3, threatening some sort of knight b5. e4, never be afraid of. Looks like a very dangerous move. But you have this knight f2 idea, attacking here. Your knight will be back to c2, the bishop to b2, attacking on d4 too many times, and knight b5 is in the air. Black's position is kind of shaky. That's why here in this position after knight a3, black has to play a6, and now knight c2 back. After knight c2, bishop d6, one of the main moves. Bishop to b2, rook e8, trying to improve the position. But after some exchanges like take, this position practically is tough to play as black because he has a problem, a clear problem here, which is d4 pawn. I can't take it right now because of some ideas like the pen along this diagonal. But instead, I'll go with the interesting move, queen f3. The point is, you cannot improve the bishop. Queen b7 is in the air. And if you try to play something like rook b8, hoping to improve the bishop next, now I can grab the pawn. But wait a second, don't we have ideas like queen c5 or queen b6? Doesn't work now. Queen f2 is there. And if knight g4, queen takes f7, and the rook will be taken. I know this is a bit of much as a theory, but you don't have to know everything. What I think you have to know is knight e5 and f4, knight d3 idea. After that, I mean, you can figure out that out. I mean, over the board, like knight a3, knight c2, bishop b2, f takes c5, want to do that. It's kind of not that tough. That's why here in this position, d4 not usually played. And the other reason why d4 not usually played, black who choose e6, d5, he's looking for a solid game. So it's meaningless to go d4 in this position if you wanted to play a solid game. If you don't want to play a solid game, then choose setup rather than e6, d5. Anyways, c5 is probably the main move in this position. We don't go bishop b2 because d4 to be coming. We go e3. And after e3, b6 sooner or later to be coming in order to improve the bishop and completing the development. And now we continue bishop b2. After bishop b2, bishop b7, but again you might ask, but wait a second, is d4 an idea now in this position? No, because I have 1, 2, 3 times attacking d4 point. So bishop to b7, and now this is one of the reasons why we go e3. Not only to control d4 and stop this d4 advance, also to give the queen this interesting square, queen e2. And our plan is very simple. Knight c3, rook ac1, rook ad1, c takes d5 or d4. You're ready to fight in the center, and most likely you will be one step ahead of your opponent. So after queen e2, knight c6, say we go rook d1. We are preparing to go d4 at the right moment. So now in this position, queen c7 most likely to go away of the rook. We just improve the knight, knight c3. After improving the knight, we are putting pressure against the d5 pawn, and now in this position, dc4 is most likely to be played to get rid of the tension here. But say, for example, rook ac8, I don't want to exchange. Now I am playing for either the hanging pawns or the isolated pawn. C takes d5 and whatever, like knight takes d5, knight takes d5, e d5, I will follow that with d4. And my idea is simple, rook ac1, dc5 to be coming, this bishop is great, this bishop is great. The pressure on d5 is very huge, and black cannot feel comfortable in this position maybe in less than 10 moves. I mean, he needs to play at least 10 very good moves in order not to lose, actually, not to feel comfortable. So that's why probably black choose to take dc4. After dc4, bc4, rook ac8, I am improving the last piece, rook ac1. And after rook fd8, you have two plans in this position. I like the first one, but it's not the best one. The first one is knight e1. The point of knight e1 is to go f4, g4, g5. Say knight a5, for example, you can exchange bishops normally, or you could go f4. After f4, for example, bishop takes g2, knight takes g2 is possible, and then you go d3, g4, g5, knight e4. This bishop is great, the knight on e4 is great. For example, a6, g4, whatever, say knight b7, g5, you move away, my knight is coming, d3 to be coming, and my position, or say white's position is great. But this is kind of risky, you know, because you're weakening your king a bit. So I don't want to weaken my king, I want to play a very solid game. You could go as probably Kasparov went in this position, d4, d5, most likely is a threat. That's why knight a5 is played, trying to stop this idea of d5, but now that doesn't help. Knight b5, attacking the queen, queen b8, most likely the best move, getting away of the rook's fire. So d5, very strong move, and the point is to open the diagonal for the bishop. E takes d5 and bishop to e5, attacking the queen, probably queen 8 is the only move. And now knight c7, attacking both the queen and the d5 square. Rook c7 has to be played, and after bishop takes rook c8, the last move that will be killing for white is c takes d5. And after c takes d5, now in this position, if you take the bishop, probably d6 is killing, so you cannot take the bishop here on c7. So this is probably an acceptable knowledge, or a good one, to play against, or to play Reti against e6 d5. As you can see, it's very simple, very easy, playable for white, and kind of promising, actually. Why promising? Because if you want to compare this, for example, with d4 idea, with the Catalan, or say with d4 here and this line, this is a huge knowledge you have to play, or you have to know. Either, I mean, after whatever you play in this position, for example, knight c3, the Tarrasch is annoying, dc, the Vienna idea, bishop b4 goes in, bishop e7, and then again the same story, like c5, dc, b6 sometimes. It's very annoying. By the way, knight e4 is an interesting move, actually, even in this position. So it's very tough and very theoretical, and if you're not very professional chess player, why to do that? Just, I mean, use as less as possible time for studying opening, and this is what I'm trying to provide you. This is the first lecture about the Reti. I am planning to follow that up with other structures like first c5, ideas like King's Indian structures, knight f6, g6, bishop g7, Grunfeld even structure, d6 structure, either King's Indian or Grunfeld. So if you find this useful, please don't forget to subscribe, share this knowledge, and see you in the next one.